Hi trader, this is Chris from Elite Currency with a video on Forex Quant and how Forex Quant can be used to improve setups and the understanding of your strategy. Alright, let's start with the Forex Quant page that you can of course access when logging in and going to Forex Quant or FX Quant here, and you'll see this form. So when we scroll lower, we will see of course 3 spots where we can fill in some data, and as you can see I already have filled in the data or some data here of 3 setups on the euro dollar with slightly different parameters, and of course we can basically use all of these columns to give us 3 specific scores, which you then find at the bottom. But what do these scores mean and how can we use them? Well, first of all, it's important to realize that Forex Quant is the best when making a relative comparison. So when looking at these 3 scores, we can see that one has 65.5, the other has 60.3, and the last one 48.2%. So when making a relative comparison, we can see that the first trade is the better one, certainly compared to the third one, all right, that has 48%. So it's always good to compare it with your strategy, with your trading plan, with your analysis, and see what is average for that particular plan. You might have different strategies that have different averages as well. For instance, if John has strategy A and B, strategy A could have a very high number, but B could have on average a lower number. So it's good to look at the comparison. Okay, in this case, obviously 48 is a bit lower than 65. So 65 looks to have better parameters. Now, this does not give any guarantee whatsoever. There's no guarantee that there will be ever a successful trade just because the score is 65.5 or whatever percentage. It is just an indication, and the more experience you get, the more you will have a feeling for it. Let's say that you typically see a score quant of about 40. Well, in this case, all 3 percentages are very high. But if your average is 60, then you can see that the first one is above average, the second one is average, and the third one is definitely below average, and therefore relatively weak. That's how you can compare those percentages when you have an average in mind. If your average is 70, then you see that the 48 is way below average, whereas the 65 is almost at average. Now, when looking at the form, you see about 10 things to fill in. It's important to realize that you fill in the form correctly, obviously, because the calculation is based on this form. There are formulas behind this form that calculate that percentage. So you must be accurate when filling in the data. All the numbers should be correct. Otherwise, the percentage will not reflect the setup, obviously. And if there is a mistake, it is better to reset it and fill it in again. When filling in this data, you can see various parameters that are connected to the trade management, like entry, stop loss, take profit, the position, the spread, and the currency. But also a bit deeper information, right? For instance, the support, the resistance, the price action, and the ATR. We're basically, with Forex Quant, calculating various combinations to see how good and likely the success rate could be of this setup. It is not a win percentage, but it is a success rate. It is kind of a quant rate that can be used to make comparisons. And we calculate that behind the scenes when you hit the calculate button. The good thing, of course, is that you only have to hit that calculate button and you do not have to do any of the math. So let's talk a bit about averages when looking at various strategies. Just to give you an idea, a trader's average score will definitely vary heavily depending on the way you trade. For instance, a scalper, a trader that scalps the market, could see on average lower percentages than a trader that has a long-term strategy and is more of a swing trader. All right, that type of trader will typically have higher percentages. Some traders will use tighter stop losses, others will use looser stop losses and perhaps looser trails or tighter trails. So therefore there are a lot of different types of groups, of course, that we can identify. But in general, I want to discuss a few that are common and are more known and more used than, let's say, traders that use a very aggressive tight stop loss, for instance, right? So, or a very loose TP. I'm going to talk a bit more about sizable, bigger groups of traders. So typically, scalpers will have lower scores on average. As I already said, long-term traders will have higher scores. Traders aiming for higher reward to risk will have higher scores. Traders that are trading pairs with medium volatility will have higher scores. Traders with quicker trade management will have a mixed score. If you trail it too fast, it will actually drop. But typically, the trade management in terms of quickness can also be a benefit if completed quickly. The number of bars trade open here, right below the percentage, will certainly have an impact on the trade management. So that is something that also will have its impact when trading with Forex Quant. So there are a lot of local differences depending on strategy and system and trading plan. In general, though, obviously one could say that if a quant percentage is between 0 and 10, that the trade probably does not have a lot of chance to succeed. And the opposite would be true for a trade that has a percentage between 90 and 100. There we could say that the chance of success is high. So obviously those statements are possible. There are a lot of relative comparisons that can be made, but of course the higher the percentage, the more we go higher from 10 to 20, then from 20 to 30, the better the odds are. And we can categorize it, of course, like we've done here. This is just an indication. It doesn't mean anything specifically, but the higher we go up to 50, the chance is just increasing that the setup is better. 60, 70, 80, it goes better and better. And of course, there are local differences, but a rough guideline like this will explain what the quant percentage could mean for you as an indication at the beginning. Thank you for watching this video. Wish you happy hunting and see you soon. Cheers!